King David in the Bible had a great time and an awful time. And he managed to write down psalms, songs, or poems to reflect how he was feeling. Now, this is Mark's second meeting, and he's not a king, although he looks it today. But he's got a year of taking all sorts of people who will come to him and say, can I ask you, can I ask you? Now, there will be all those wonderful times when he has to say, sorry, but my council doesn't deal with this. You need to get onto counting or gospel. And David wrote a lot of psalms and songs about how he had to feel at different times. So here's one of them. I waited patiently for the Lord. He turned to me and heard my cry. He lifted me out of the mud and mire and gave me a firm place to stand. And David managed that, standing quite firm at times with all the things he had to meet. Well, let's pray for tonight's meeting. Heavenly Father, we thank you that we can talk to you, and if we choose, we can know you personally. And Lord, we pray for our meeting tonight. We thank you for every counsellor here, for their gifts and abilities that they exercise through this town council, and for the public here and what they would have to say in our meeting tonight. Lord, we pray that we might know your guidance in all that we do, and we do this in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Jeff. Right, we'll move on to the agenda. Item 1, to receive and agree apologies and reasons for absence.
We've had apologies from Councillor Townsend and Councillor Schofield.
Okay, thank you very much. Any declarations of interest and submitted dispensation requests? No? Good. Any items for Chair's discretion? I have 2 from Councillor Aurelia. Any others? No, we'll be 2. We want to determine now which items, if any, of the agenda should be taken with the publicly excluded. We have 1, we have part B, and that's 9.2. But anything else that we need to put in part B? No? Okay, just the 1 item. We'll do that at the end. And we're now on to public participation, which we have a goodly array tonight. Who'd like to start? Anybody?
Just that one question.
Sure.
Just one of the, I have asked this before, more than usual. When the Osborne Hotel, to me, looks like it's stands still. Now, I shouldn't have, the person who ever bought it, and who that might be, it should have spent quite a bit of money on it, but it seemed to be a bit derelict now, and when you go north of the road, it's a bit of a mess up the road here. So, and you don't see any lights on, you don't see any men working there. I don't know any reason for that, or has he stopped more or less working on it? Thank you.
It does seem to indeed gone quiet. Anybody got any information to share on that?
I've still seen people working there, but they generally work late at night, I know. But I have still seen action. I know it's not fast progress, but I have still seen movement.
Similarly, I've heard that there's 1 person working in there, so the whole to
Could take a while.
Yeah, a couple of months ago, I spoke to, there were a few people working there, and they said they hoped they had it, would be ready by August. But I didn't say which year.
Yeah. So to answer your question, I guess it's still progressing, but slowly.
Yeah, because you've got to realise that that hotel has been going on for about must be at least 2 or 3 years. And that be spending money doing the waste of money, taking that time, I think that something wrong.
Yeah, is there anything we can do to find out or chase it?
I can raise it through IRB, as it's privately owned, I'm not sure there's a huge amount that we can do. Generally, as long as they're sticking to all the planning, it's a safe building, there's no access issues, we don't have an awful lot of power, unfortunately, in that respect, so. But we'll raise it as an item and see if there's anything that could be done.
Thank you.
Not all in all? Anybody else?
Yeah. Good evening, members, Mr. Mayor. Steve Treadwell from the Bloom. I've come to introduce our new style Ilfracombe and Bloom and Gardening Club to you. Been going 3 years now. I got a phone call a couple of years back from Barbara Clark to say that Ilfracombe and Bloom was on the brink of extinction, and could I help? So we got a committee together, which then we put a gardening club together. A lot of people don't really want to join a committee, but a lot of people joined the club, and we have now up to about 20 members. So we're doing really, really well. So I would like to thank you for your grant funding that we got this year, and we will be spending that again to improve everything in and around the town. With the members that we've got now, we've taken on a few projects. The reason we're new is because we don't want to be like the old Ilfracombe and Bloom, where they only want to do competition work, where they want to make Ilfracombe look good for the one day. We want Ilfracombe to look good for 12 months of the year. We don't need a judge to come out of town to tell us what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong. We want members, we want the residents to tell us what we're doing right and what they want. And this is the way that we want to try and go. If we do a competition, then it'll be the cherry on the cake. But there's a long way to go before we are happy with the way that Ilfracombe is looking at the moment. We have taken on a few projects in the last couple of years. One was the Mullicott Roundabout. You can all appreciate what it looked like a couple of years ago. We're starting up a little bit of a networking. We're working close now with Mullicott facilities team. They've taken on the Mullicott Roundabout up there, doing the grass cutting. They're now putting in £1,000 this year to actually start doing some of the landscaping on the roundabout. So that area now is going to be more attractive to holidaymakers and residents coming into the town. We've also taken on Victoria Place and Albert Court. You've probably seen in town. We do an annual maintenance of painting walls, looking after the bin, looking after the flower beds. We've added a couple more flower beds. We're planting, we're weeding, and that sort of thing. And also the High Street. You know, we've raised money now to try and replace some of the annual stanchions that were out and replace them with more perennial, or can I say, permanent stanchions, so that we can not just put summer bedding out, annual bedding out, but we can put bedding and themes throughout the year. So these will be out 12 months of the year, so that not only the holidaymakers get the enjoyment, but the locals get the enjoyment of it as well. With having such a big group of members now, I find it really hard to find work for them. So what we've done is we've tackled the War Memorial, which is a big area, and no disrespect to the town council, but it's too much for one person every 5 minutes to go up and do a bit. We've come in to try and help, not to hinder, but we've gone up there, we've cleared areas, we've lifted stuff, we want to try and put colour into it. We've spent £500 this year in enhancing some of the shrubs and the plants, so we're putting a basic stuff in to make it all more attractive. We've been going up there now, I suppose, for about 2 months every Sunday, working as a group, and it's become quite noticeable that really we want to make it a proper project. It's your asset, we're a tool in your toolbox. We want to take the War Memorial and transform it into something that the whole town, all of North Devon, can be proud of. That's a place up there for our fallen heroes, and they deserve somewhere to go. Their family deserves somewhere to go. We want to try and raise £50,000 to re-landscape it, to put in sculptures, to put in seating, to put in water features, put in some memorials, but most of all, to put in some really nice themed planting. Without your backing, there's no point us really doing anything. This is your asset. I've come here now with some of the committee members to ask for your permission to go ahead and try and raise some money, keep you in the loop of everything that's going on, step by step, working with you, working with your facilities team, to try and put a 5-year project together. It's not going to happen overnight, but we want something to work towards, and we need something to apply for funding so that we've got a reason for it. We've got a funding application going in at the moment, which we might not get. If we don't, then fair enough, we'll just keep on looking for funding, but that's for £30,000. If we get that, that'll be the first rung on the ladder to work with yourselves to try and completely re-landscape it and make that look a jewel in the crown for Ilfracombe. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah. Well, council, thank you for this. We are improving the town, so no argument from me, you know, I'm assuming from nobody else in the council, so. Yes, we will, we'll have a conversation afterwards to see what's the full now about.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to speak?
No, I was just gonna follow on,
Question? Yeah.
sorry.
Who are you applying for the £30,000 from?
Surtas, we've got, it's closed now.
Surtas.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So there's no point us really applying for anything unless we get your backing and your blessing, really.
Also say that we put it in as a request to develop it into a peace garden, so that it's both memorial and a peace.
Well, I was just going to highlight, I mean, obviously we all work well together. I think it's great, the work you do. With regards to a decision, just so you're aware of that what we can and can't do at this point for you, we can't make a decision based on you coming and chatting to us, unfortunately, at the moment. So what I'd suggest we do is if we bring that as a proposal, if you can, I'll get back in touch with you, but if we can work together and get a proposal brought to full council for the next one,
Right.
then I can get a decision for you and I can make an agenda item. So unless it's on an agenda, unfortunately, by law, we're not allowed to make an actual formal decision.
Yeah,
But I think maybe at that point, maybe within the next month, if we can work on what your ideas are. I know you've said Peace Garden, Nettie, if we can kind of maybe just get an idea so that members are a bit more clear on exactly what we want to do up at the War Memorial, then we can get that decision hopefully for you.
I suspect you might have already got there this road, but that almost sounds like it might meet working well with the culture plan, doesn't it? I don't know. We're sort of looking over to Charmaine, whether there's something, there's a lot of stuff going on at the moment with the word culture attached to it, as a plan, if you weave yourself into that, you might find that the different doors open and a little bit easier.
Okay, thanks for the advice.
Yeah, I'll chat with
Councillor
Steve, have you got a rough plan of what you want to do? Could that be incorporated in the proposal?
Yeah, we will. Obviously, this is just the introduction, if you like, what we've got planned. I've got a garden designer in the standby to sort of, we're going to get together and inspire our ideas to him, and then come to you with some sort of a plan of what we would like to see, and then with yourselves, if you want to sort of take away bits and pieces together, then we can come to a decision of a garden plan, a peace garden, that we all agree on, and then we can crack on and start raising the money.
Good. Let's get a proposal in, and but initially, thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you all.
Right, anybody else with public participation? No, you're all welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, or you can go whichever you.
I think we've got a meeting down the Welling now that we have.
Priorities.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for coming. Thank you.
So, item 6, to approve and adopt the minutes of the last full council meeting from the 12th of May. The update on actions from previous minutes and to review and agree the draft letters to Devon County Council, the family health provision, which is that one. That there.
Yeah, I've got a question about the minutes. At the end of last month's meeting, we discussed Councillor Crabb's report from Devon County Council, and some councillors were not very happy with the last paragraph of that. And we were talking about whether or not to include it
Yeah, well, that's
in
kind of,
the council thing.
that is one of my updates I was actually going to bring. So, having had that conversation with Del, the general consensus is that reports as per standing orders, being verbal or written reports, don't have to be, there have to be an option on an agenda, but they're not required to be sent in prior to the meeting, as long as it's on the agenda. We can't censor personal opinion within them. Well, we could if we wanted to, but from a perspective of transparency, it's probably not advisable. However, we can state, and I think I'd like to try and stress it to all members, that if you are putting a report in, possibly try to keep personal opinion out of it, make it factual and to the point. And if there is personal opinion, what we can do as a council is we can state that very clearly within that, that is personal view of the person putting the report in, and that it's not necessarily the view of the council as a whole. And I think that's the easiest ways I'll monitor it going forward. So if you're happy with that.
Yeah, happy with that, Tony?
I mean, and obviously if I can get reports in earlier, it makes things an awful lot easier for me to kind of look at.
It does, yeah. Right.
Just for clarity, I think this is the business about the makeup of the county council. It's not political opinion, it's not a statement, it's just a fact. There are two ways of running a minority establishment. One is you form a formal coalition, in which case you have to give out lots of jobs. Or B, you form what is a command and supply arrangement or some such thing, where it is a much more loosely organised thing, and that's all that my report says. The Liberal Democrats have chosen to keep all the top jobs. End of.
That's not all that your report says. Your report says the reason that they've done it is to hang on to all of the money themselves.
The top jobs all come with a cash bonus of an allowance.
Well, at the moment, it's been raised. It's been answered with an investigation to Delk. We've got a recommendation from the proper officer, we'll follow that. So, can I get a proposer for the minutes of the last full council? And,
John,
John,
all in favour?
all in favour? Against? Abstentions?
Councillor.
Moving on to the minutes of the planning committee meeting.
Miss 6.2.
Oh, 6.2. We've shared a draft letter that we're going to send to Devon County Council with regards to the family health provision. Any questions on that?
Are you happy that the draft as it stands would go to Devon County Council? Or is there any questions you'd like to, as Charmaine is here, and the person who's drafted the letter, you can ask those questions now.
I think it's an excellent letter. Charmaine and myself have been in a meeting with various other representatives from various bodies that address health and wellbeing in Ilfracombe. And I think there was general feeling in the room of great concern. It's not only in Ilfracombe, it's other communities where the children's centre is changing. Basically, they're acting after the fact, so they haven't got plans in advance. They are going to be pushing preventative work and early years groups onto our communities without having scoped out whether there is that provision possible. And we already know that we are under tremendous pressure as far as voluntary groups in Ilfracombe and recruiting volunteers as it is, let alone trying to skill up and recruit more volunteers in what is, after all, we're talking about children. So I'm very nervous about what's being proposed and the fact that they haven't scoped it out. And already, as I've communicated to Charmaine, there are people who don't know where to go now because the existing provision has stopped and they're in a limbo time. And already people don't know what's on offer or where to go. And that's just not acceptable. So I thought the letter was very good. Thanks, Charmaine.
Can I ask, because Charmaine raised this, that it has been raised at the One Ilfracombe Living Well meeting as well. So as part of, because you're going to need to vote to agree for this letter to go, if we speak, rather than Charmaine writing exactly the same letter on behalf of One Ilfracombe, if we did it as a joint letter from Ilfracombe to the council and One Ilfracombe Living Well group, can we vote that you're happy to do that, or can somebody propose that?
Well, I propose that we send a letter and we send it as a joint letter.
Yeah.
Any seconders for that? Big one.
George.
Yeah. All in favour? Against? Abstentions?
You just change the letter heading.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely, yeah, I'm aware. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item 7, planning committee, meeting over the 19th of May. June.
Thank you very much. Like to present to you the minutes of the planning committee meeting held on Monday the 19th of May. I trust you've all read them. I don't think there's anything controversial in them that I can pick up on, unless members have got any further questions. Then can you please note these accordingly?
Then at 7.1,
Yes.
that's about that, we need to.
Yeah, we need to adopt the terms of reference. These were again discussed at the planning meeting. Obviously, as you are aware, we could have adopted at the last full council meeting. So we decided that we would bring them back to this meeting for adoption. So could I ask members if they're happy with the terms of reference and if they agree to adopt them accordingly? We are now sufficient in members of the planning committee. So, you know, we have got enough members, so we should be calling for meetings.
Yeah, good.
So June proposing.
So you're proposing,
I'm proposing that we
I'll
accept
second.
them. Thank you.
All in favour?
June.
Abstentions?
And then can we also appoint which members are actually putting the names forward for the planning committee?
Yeah.
Just to be clear,
Do we just need to show?
show of hands if we can, please. Unless,
So, as I say,
so councillor Williams times 2, councillor Coates,
Basil, Councillor Basil.
councillor Basil,
Councillor Schofield.
councillor Schofield
Yeah.
has put,
Yeah, councillor Schofield.
and councillor Coulter.
We have got that.
I'm one short. No, that's fine. And the ex officio members, my
Yeah.
apologies, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Item 8. Minutes of the finance and general purposes meeting, note and approve. Oh,
So you have the report, from GP. The 2 items that we'd like you to, approve are the addition of the 2 councillors, accounts, so that we can sign checks, etc., etc. And to agree the changes to the portfolio reserves.
okay, thank you. Any questions for councillor Owens?
We need to agree them though. So are you proposing, somebody proposing, well, sorry, you are proposing on behalf of the chair of the F and GP. So have you got a seconder on 8.1?
Yeah.
All in favour to those changes? And then I presume, Trevor, if you are proposing the report 250222. Does anyone second the reserves portfolio? Councillor Gear? All in favour of adopting that?
Against? Abstentions?
No, I think we're okay, thank you.
Minutes of the staffing committee meeting on the 19th of May. We're going to move 9.2 to part B, as I've already said. 9.1, to agree the draft preventing sexual harassment risk assessment and the draft action plan, which has been circulated. Any questions on it?
Firstly, I would like to say, it does identify women as a more vulnerable group for experiencing sexual harassment. In fact, women are 40% likely, according to a government report, to be victims of sexual harassment. Committees are where the minutiae of things like this are talked about, and yet still we don't have a woman on that committee. So I want to make that point again. Also, looking through the assessment, I don't, members fall into a really kind of grey area around issues like harassment and discrimination. And in a lot of the categories, as female councillors, we are in positions where we are just as likely to be experience sexual harassment. For example, lone working, if we're meeting members of the public, or if we're in scenarios, and I just don't think that it covered that. I'm not sure if it's supposed to, but I think there were some examples where it could be looked at to the risks posed to members as well. And we should be offered the same training as well.
I mean, obviously, the document that we've received is through WorkNest, so it is predominantly from an HR perspective and isn't designed for members. However, within the risk assessment, things like lone working and working at night did include members within that as to who they possibly were. Majority of them are more staff and volunteers, so we have covered members, staff and volunteers. If there is specifically one section that you feel that the members should have been included, and I haven't put them in, please do tell me, but you'll see within it that vulnerable employees and workers, especially where it does refer to women, as you state. I have included staff, council members and volunteers, and have highlighted some things to be addressed. I mean, obviously I'm slightly off the cuff here because obviously I wasn't aware of your question beforehand. But if there is something that you wish to raise and adjust the risk assessment, I'm quite happy to go through it. But I did try to cover everybody within it.
Is it possible then for myself to go through it and just highlight those areas where members could be at risk and then come back next week?
We can defer the motion to next council meeting, if that's what members decide.
Right, thank you. Just for information, I know Councillor Elliott says there's no woman on staffing committee, but as an ex officio member, I actually did attend the staffing committee meeting, and I believe that I'm of a female variant. So, we are technically not correct. I'm sorry.
So I have no knowledge of what an ex officio member is and why you're invited into staffing. I have no understanding of that.
An ex officio.
All I know is that, I'm never around to attend or I'm not ever voted on, but I have no knowledge of what an ex officio member is.
I'm sure our officer will enlighten you.
Sorry, an ex officio member is either a mayor or a deputy mayor position. It's in every single set of terms of reference that you've adopted as council. With regards to you not being invited to staffing, that's not true. You've been invited to every meeting. Every council member around this table is invited to every meeting. Those parts that possibly would get included into part B, there might be the chance that you'd be asked to leave at that point, because not being a voting member, you would end up having to leave the meeting, but that's not necessarily the case. And I'm afraid, sorry, just to clarify, I have stated on a number of occasions, everybody is invited to every single subcommittee meeting that the council has. That is why the email goes to everybody.
So I will come to the next
You are
staffing
welcome to
meeting
come.
and hopefully I'll be allowed to stay, but if that's all right, I would like to go through this and point out those areas where members are also at risk. And then propose to bring it to the next staffing meeting.
I've read this document and it seems quite comprehensive to me. Two things come out of this, a couple things come out of this. If we're gonna have, the reason we send out reports and everything in advance is to give people the opportunity to ask clarifying questions.
Okay, I'm quite happy to go through it now if you like.
No, it's not to be done in full council. Really, we want to get those points across, we can get questions asked, we can get replies. And then it's a lot easier at the full council, otherwise it turns into a debate on every topic, which is why we can go into many, many things. So,
Sorry, can you clarify that? So what you're saying that I should have sent in all my questions beforehand?
ideally, yes,
So
because
is that what you like going forward? from
and
there?
I think that's not just for this case, but it's for every report that gets sent out in advance. Anything that people have questions on, please do ask in advance, because
So that's never been the case before, but
Well,
I'm happy
I-
if that's going forward, that you ask members to send in all their questions in advance for every item on the agenda. Is that what you're proposing?
it doesn't mean that they have to do every single one every single time. I'm just saying, it was illogical to me that if you read a report and you have questions about it, ask them straight away, you know?
Well, that's never happened before. They're presented in council, members in the public domain. Accountability, transparency, that's where members ask questions.
Okay, case in point for this one, had we known that, we may have been able to modify the risk assessment in time for this meeting, so that
So
we
my
could vote.
proposal is
This
to
is
go
why
away,
things go on month after month after month, because we just keep putting things back.
but there's an awful lot of questions. So my proposal is to go back and point out those areas where members are at risk. You can vote against it, that's your prerogative, I'm sure you will, but that's what I'm proposing.
Okay, well, let's put it to a vote. Is that your proposal?
My proposal is that go back and just identify those areas where female members of the council are at risk, with the work that they do around sexual harassment, and come back with a slightly modified report.
Okay, that's, we have a second, that's.
We've not got to vote yet, I wondered if I could.
Yeah.
I just wondered if councillor A is saying she's broadly in support of the report, but there are a few things that she'd like to cross the i's and dot the t's. I imagine that most councillors would be capable of not being inappropriate for another 30 days, and we can presumably then just knock this off as a quick, all in favour, about this time next month. And peace and harmony is restored.
Yeah. Well, yeah, okay, well, we have a seconder for the proposal to defer.
Yeah.
Councillor Rose. So, council, are we, a counter proposal then is, are we going to adopt this proposal now, or are we gonna go with deferring for a month? All in favour of deferring for a month while this gets sorted out? That's fine. All against? Abstentions? Right, one of you can work with the proper officer to make changes, that'd be good. Right. Any other questions on staffing? Yeah. Item 10, report from the proper officer.
Yeah, I sent my report out. I don't think there's anything that is not an agenda item on there unless anyone has any questions. It's a little bit sparse, I'll be honest. Doesn't mean I'm not busy. Okay, so that's, well, my reports, unless anyone has any questions, we can move on to 10.1.
Questions, right, 10.1, what shows the report?
So this was brought to the last full council, and there was a question by councillor Curtin, I think it was, with regards to ownership. I've highlighted it in blue on the report. I've just amended the original report just so that you have it all. So the, having gone back to Devon County Council and Fernbank, Devon County Council are aware of the wording that has been sent to me from Fernbank, which is to say that, Ilfracombe can, this is literally verbatim from the email, so Ilfracombe can piggyback off the Devon County Council as their contract currently runs until July 2041. They're looking to extend it over the next year, hopefully. Alternatively, Ilfracombe can have their own 20-year contract with Fernbank. Fernbank take ownership of the place and ensure the shelters for public liability. As the bus shelters sit on highways land, Fernbank has no ownership of the ground, but provide a public service when they site the bus shelter for public use. Fernbank has been cleaning and maintaining the bus shelters since April 2001. They're a family business, and they're not looking to go anywhere. If the contract was terminated for whatever reason, I can put into the agreement that we would remove the advertising but leave the shelters in situ and they would be handed back to us. We've included with that report an example of the contract that we would be looking to have with Fernbank. So, provided members have read that and are happy and have no further questions, I'll refer back to my recommendation, which is to give approval for Fernbank to take on the replacement, cleaning, maintenance responsibilities of the bus shelters highlighted in orange, with the view that these will be removed from our asset list. Should this be agreed, well, actually completion will be a bit longer now, unfortunately, because it's hit the summer months, so that's my recommendation, but it will need to be proposed and agreed by members.
Okay, proposer, anybody for that, Trevor? Second, Councillor Flynn, all in favour?
You might have a question.
Or is that a question? Or...
Yeah, I noticed that some of them here, they're claimed to be in good condition remain, which is fine, I mean, I won't in favour of that. The relatively new one, the bus shelter, which I try and rip any crap off every day when I go past, is still in reasonably good condition, and yet that one is down to be replaced.
I think that was something to do with the regulations and it not being quite far enough off the pavement. But I can, from the edge of the pavement, if you see what I mean. I don't know the regulations of the.
I think there's an argument whether a wheelchair user would like to go through.
I think that's probably
further 8 foot of pavement.
Yeah.
Before the whole world ends. But there we are. Okay, that's what it said. Is there a chance, because it won't cost me anything, instead of this dreary green that looks so god awful, can they paint them blue with yellow roofs?
Can request.
We've got the round numbers, so we can tell them what colours they are.
I can request but can't guarantee.
It's so much cheaper.
Put pink flowers on as well.
They can.
They have they've got cedar roofs,
Yeah.
yes, so they are environmentally friendly.
You picked that from there, didn't you, sir?
Proposal, we need a second, Joe?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think.
All in favour? Against? Abstentions?
No.
Oh, good. Let's get it done. On to Brimlands.
Right, I have circulated all the contracts. Sorry, I brought everything in with me, so. As per 10.2, we need to agree and sign the contract with regards to Brimlands. Has anyone got any questions on it? Are we happy to go ahead and sign?
Yes, good, let's go ahead. and
Okay,
sign.
if somebody can propose and second, and then I will need 2 members' signatures, please. Probably chair and vice chair.
I'll propose it then. Seconder. June. All in favour? Against? Abstentions?
No, thank you very much. If I can get signatures before you both leave, that'd be great. Thank you very much. The second one, 10.3, which is a draft lease for seafront public conveniences. I did everything in my power to try and get the actual lease before tonight, but I haven't unfortunately had it. Therefore, based on the draft lease, can council give me the authority to sign upon completion, provided I do not see anything glaringly obvious has changed from what you have had circulated.
Proposed.
Proposed, seconded, all in favour?
I take it that panic is so that once it's decided, it will open, is that the
No, at the moment, just to give you an update, they're not ready for completion because they haven't got the electricity signed over yet, which is down to Eon, unfortunately. So contractors have removed the hoardings ahead of schedule, which I didn't want to have happen, but they have done it. I have, however, in the interim, put stickers on the toilets this morning, was one of my jobs, to say that they are not open to the public just yet, because I didn't want the risk of people trying the doors. Everything else is in place at the moment, ready to go with regards to the contracts. As this is the first set of doors that we're going to have, which are paid for, I don't know the complete ins and outs of them as yet. I'm still learning, but we don't currently have the lease signed anyway. So, but I'm working on it. So it'll be, I will update you as things go. So, yeah.
On the voting, we got through the, all in favour, were there any objections or any abstentions? No, just for completeness. 10.4.
So 10.4 is the sales contract. I've circulated all of those as well. So, and also I will need members to sign these as well. So we have the actual contract with regards to the overage, which was the 25% overage, the main contract between us and the sales and the land registry documents, and as well as everything else. So if members are happy, can we agree to sign all of the above contracts?
Did we manage to establish whether there was public right of way at the back of the car park?
There is, yes. I've got all of those documents. I think I've got them all.
Couldn't see it on the map.
No, I think there's loads of documents there where there's various bits and pieces, so I've got it all within this delightful report.
So there is potential to create another public access entrance through the back alleyway?
Oh, no, through that, no, because that's owned by BT. Is it? So no, not that part, sorry, no. There is access, I think there's public right of access across the land, which is obviously the garage. And we have access from the top, but that other bit, no, that's private property owned by BT. So unfortunately not on that front.
John.
So just a quick question, bear in mind I wasn't involved when you guys agreed this deal. But I'm questioning why we're paying 4% above base. Why would we pay
Sorry,
4%
with
above base
regards
rate
to,
That's for 10.5.
yeah, that's, I can come to that on 10.5,
Okay.
and explain.
Sorry,
No, that's okay. We're just going to, if I can just get the contract agreed so that I can then get all the transfers sorted out. If I can have a proposal on that, and then I'll.
Propose that we sign the contract. Seconder, George, all in favour? Against? Abstentions?
And if anybody does feel that they need some time reading, I've read it.
Fine, before we leave.
Then with regards to 10.5, this is actually, councillor Crabbe, this is.
Yeah.
Report from yourself. Do you want to, need a copy of it?
Run through it. I mean, I trust you've read it. It might delay some of your concerns, John. So the reason that we originally adopted the proposal was through the DMO, Debt Management Office. The reason we went through the Debt Management Office is certainty. As a local authority, we've got a tremendous benefit in the fact that you can borrow money fixed rate for 50 years. So anything can happen in the next 50 years and your repayment will stay exactly the same to the penny. And the benefit of that is in 50 years time, £30,000 repayment will pay for a loaf of bread. And that's the...
That's not what this says. This says it'd be 4% above base rate.
Sorry, which
I
document are you
looking at some
referring
stuff
to?
about car parks, it's to do with the high street car park. Default rate would be 4% per annum above the interest rate.
That's if you don't pay for it, I think, isn't it? If you sign a
I
contract.
don't know, I just grab interest at 4% per annum above base rate of HSBC Bank PLC. Have I picked the wrong bit?
That's, I think that's if you exchange contracts, I think that will be, if you exchange contracts and then don't proceed with don't give them the rest of the money, they will then charge you a penal rate. To encourage you to go to the bank. I think that's what we're going about.
All right, yeah.
So what we agreed a couple of weeks ago is the fact that we would approach the DMO and hit them for 951,000 at the 50-year certainty rate. Well, the certainty rate means something different, it's 2.2% cheaper, but that's different. So we were going, and I think at the time we agreed that there was business plans made up, and the figure then was about 5.8%, something like that, was what we were expecting to pay in terms of interest. Every 0.1% fluctuation in the rate of interest costs us about £1,000 a year. So myself and Laura, we were a little bit concerned that it was creeping up a little bit, and it's only point something of a percent every time, but each time it does that, you are committed for a very lumpy expenditure for the next 50 years. So I went and spoke to the Treasury Management chap in North Devon Council, and they actually employ a chap who actually sits in front of the computer and plays with money markets. That's his job. I mean, it's probably quite interesting to do that. But I said, what would you do if this was, yours? And he said, because I was thinking maybe we could take a short-term DMO. All the forecasts are that interest rates are coming down, and then renew that for like a 49-year DMO or whatever next year at a lower rate, or hopefully lower rate. There's an element of arbitrage in this. But he said, no, the best thing we can do is to borrow off of the local authorities. Some local authorities have large cash reserves. So you can borrow off of them. The current rate is about 4.25%, is it 4.3?
4.3.
4.3%.
To be on the.
If you borrow from another authority. So if you're doing inter-authority borrowing, they don't like deals where it's £951,638.78. They like million or half million or something like that. So we would have to borrow £1 million, but we could put the £49,000 and change into an investment account, which would return about the same interest as what we're paying. And we could keep this for a year, and we could still use our existing DMO paperwork without going through the whole kerfuffle again to renew our debt management. Long-term borrowing, we can do that this time next year. So what I'm suggesting is we literally save £18,000 by going through a broker for the first year, inter-authority borrowing at 4.34%, because you've got to give the broker 4%. 4.34% for it cost us for 12 months borrowing. There's no repayment on that, it's interest only, and then we'll renew the DMO deal this time next year at a lower interest rate. So why am I confident the lower interest rate? It's because all the Treasury forecast says there will be a lower interest rate this time next year.
So, and that rate we're looking at for next year would then be fixed for the term of the contract?
They're there to be fixed for the term of the contract.
Okay. Yeah, fine.
Yeah.
They're basically waiting to fix at the lowest possible.
Yeah, no, I get that now.
So we've got a year of flexibility now.
Yeah.
I'll defer to the same part, I don't know what is arranged with a broker, but there's a possibility that if for some reason there was a massive drop in interest, I don't think it's likely, there was a massive drop in interest rates in November, it's possible you could quickly flip this onto the DMO, grab that interest rate, say thank you very much. But at the moment, you've got 12 months to sit back, relax, and watch those graphs, and pick a time they come down.
I asked proper officer for their analysis of what council Crab is proposing in terms of risk and.
Well, I can't see that there is a particularly, it makes sense, there isn't as much of a risk. I mean, what we're doing is at the moment, when we did the business plan as Councillor Crabbe, it was at about 5.8, 5.9%. It shot up to 6.3, down to 6.28 today. So, and it's kind of fluctuating, and I've been looking at this almost every single day. You can ask the staff, because every time I look at it, you can hear me shouting because it keeps going up. And so at the moment, what we need for it to do ideally is to come down. All this is doing is just giving us that breathing space, but it's giving us the breathing space on a much lower interest rate. So we instead of us paying for the next year 6.3%, we're paying 4.34%, and that's with brokerage fee as well. So we're not repaying that back in the next year, granted, but it is still saving us that 18,000 negates that paying the interest back, because we wouldn't have paid £18,000 worth of interest back within the first year if we went with the Public Works Loans Board. So.
Do you not think the public would find it quite difficult to understand what we're doing, considering we're borrowing money, and it sounds quite complicated and.
It sounds complicated, it's not really as complicated as it sounds. All we're doing, and that's why the report is quite clear, is all we're doing is not going back on taking it, but we're saving the money, and that money that we're saving, we can then, if we're investing into the CCLA, which we're getting the interest rate at the higher interest rate as well. So at the moment, what we're doing is we're making money and making less chance of us affecting our preset figures, which is what we were looking, that if we keep going up at 6.3, we didn't predict we were going to touch our preset, but that would mean we would then have to be taking anything if for instance, the car park, because the repayments are so much higher, if the car park doesn't make that difference, I'd have to then start looking at finding that shortfall within our reserves, because we've already agreed and said that it wouldn't affect our preset. So that means that we would then, any shortfall we would have to cover. By doing this for a year, we're negating the potential shortfall, and we're actually making a little bit of money, and we're reinvesting. So it's, there isn't risk. There isn't a risk with this.
Interest rates could go up.
Well, it's a gamble every single day. I mean, it's sat at 5.8, it went to 6.3. I didn't predict that, unfortunately. Donald Trump, unfortunately, has helped that scenario, I'm afraid.
So it sounds like the PWLB is a better bet anyway. It seems like it's
Yeah.
it seems like it's a lower rate of rental than the local authority.
And it will be local authority. So local authority loans are only ever on a short-term basis, so they're only ever for 8 years. So absolutely, yeah. So this is only as an interim. So we will always go back to the Public Works Loan Board, because that is, yes, like you say, that is 100% the better option available to us, because like Councillor Crabb says, is you pay exactly the same interest rate over the next, or say exactly the same amount over the next 50 years. So with inflation, theoretically in 50 years time, that's going to be pennies. So, but yeah, we will go back to that. We're just hoping that the interest rate will come down a bit in time.
Yeah, if this will help, it's just another way, a simpler way of looking at it is we'd be basically paying a fee to postpone the decision, to postpone the date that we take on the PWLB loan. And the cost of that loan for 1 year, about £40,000. Some of it's going to be offset, because when we run the car park, our business plan expects that we're going to be paying a much higher interest rate than we will do. So the bottom line of the car park will do better in that first year. But basically, it's an opportunity, instead of going for what we think is a higher interest rate now, it's saying we have to pay this 1 year loan, and at the end of it, we hope that we will get a better rate. There are two types of risk in this, though. There is no correlation, strict correlation between interest rates and these long dated gilts. So at the moment, interest rates are going down. So this year we've had 2 rate cuts already, 2.25% rate cuts. The rate she's looking at, instead of going down, it's going up, because they look at 2 completely different things. The base rate is looking at what's happening with wages, what's happening with prices, and so on. The other one is looking at how is the government and the world scenario playing out? And when they start the bond market starts to get worried, they put the rates up. So there is no guarantee that in a year's time, we will get a lower rate. We should, but every time they forecast, as Paul's document shows, they're wrong. So there is that possibility, but there is a second risk on the flip side, which is the people of Ilfracombe expect us to make the best possible decision for their finances. And if we don't go into the weeds on this and make what we think is really, with an element of risk, the right decision, we could be paying, instead of 60,000, we could be paying £60,000 a year as we plan to at the moment for this loan over 50 years. We could be paying 50,000 because the rates come down. It won't take much for that rate to make a difference. And then the people who come to our council meetings and the people we meet in the street will say, £10,000 difference every year for 50 years. Were you doing your job properly? And they'd have a point. But I just thought that might help. There's two types of risk. I am in favour of this because on balance, I think it's probably also better. Yeah, there's no guarantee for it will be people.
Is the public work loan guaranteed even in a year's time? Is that set in stone that they will loan?
Yeah.
Even if the interest rate changes?
That's what makes it work.
We've already got one like that in terms of Rotary Road. And Rotary Road, we know exactly how much we're going to be paying every year for the next 39 or
Yeah.
For the agreement's valid for you.
So,
Councillor Reddy's concern was, I'm assuming your concern is if if we go back, will we definitely get this loan in 12 months' time, or will they know that the paperwork is in, as long as we don't mess about and take 13 months, we can literally pick up the phone and say, send it. And that's when the interest rate will kick in.
I've literally got one document left to send, and then that would be sorted. So there's 3 sections to that report, though, the recommendation.
yes, so is that?
I'd like to read them out, just to refresh my memory, because
Do you want me to read them out? Councillor Crabb's first recommendation is that the council approves the use of the short-term loan for 1 year via a broker such as King and Jackson, which I have also circulated. I haven't circulated, but I do have a copy of what the agreement would look like that we'd have to sign with them. So I do have that for anyone who wants to read that. But I will circulate that. So that's the first recommendation, is that we go with the broker for the 1 year.
I'll propose.
I'll second that. All in favour? Against? Abstentions?
The second part of that is the excess funds of the £48,002. Didn't realise it was rounded to £2, sorry. Very exact. Ring fence and invested within the CCLA to generate the interest income. Proposed by councillor Crabb, seconded.
All in favour? Against? Abstentions?
And then the last part is that the council reviews the interest rates environment in 12 months before committing to long-term borrowing. I don't think you need to vote on that. I think we can, that's just recommendation. We can do that in 12 months. Yeah, so we don't really need to vote on point 3. I will bring this back round within the 12-month period for everybody.
Thank you. Right, let's move on to item 11, the RFO's report.
So you've received my report. There is an addendum which I put out, which will have more bills that are coming in today. So, first of all, is there any questions on the accounts themselves? With regards to the accounts payments, the approval, are there any questions on the ones we had or on the addendum? Would I have somebody to propose that these payments are approved for payment?
One second. All in favour? Against? Abstentions? No, good.
Okay, the other parts of my report, just to highlight, was 11.3 was the proposal from Northern GP. Thank you for accepting that proposal, because it will make my life a lot easier with a fewer number of specified reserves. And to let you know as an update that we have applied for the additions of the signatories. We're just waiting for Lloyds and CCA to confirm that those have gone through, but they've gone through with approval from the council now. Apart from that, not a lot more to tell you except for a discipline going.
Thank you, Carol. Looking forward to this. All right, we'll move on to the programme manager report, including one else report, Steve.
Yeah, so, there's nothing major to point out in this report. One thing I think I might have mentioned it last time is we're going to change the format of this report. So it reads much more like a sort of project document, so that people don't have to trawl through all the pages, and it's going to be easier to find updates. I think a few things to note is worth noting that the Outward Blue project is now coming to an end in the next week, into the Blue project next week, and been doing quite a few socials on that, but that's been incredible. One thing you can
Yeah, it's been brilliant. We've had 192 students now, all year 5 and all year 6 in the junior school. They've done 6 weeks of just fun stuff, and also some education stuff. They've been learning about some safety as well. The reports back, we will do kind of put a evaluation on it, but the reports back so far from the school, they've even seen the kids in year 5 and 6, their attendance rates have gone up. There's a really lovely buzz around the community, especially from the parents. So now we're just in the process of trying to make this a regular annual thing for years, well, for year 5 going forwards. But also opening up opportunities to other schools, other groups, because we've got the funding to buy all the equipment such as the wetsuits and helmets and gloves, all of it. It's now a possible opportunity to create some revenue through doing that as well, which then again will go back in to make sure that local kids in Ilfracombe are able to take up this opportunity for free. And it is universal, it is for all children. There's no kind of, it's only for the good ones, the bad ones, and the ones that can afford it. It's literally every single child given that opportunity. And yeah, everybody's loving it, so.
Can I just say, I've spoken to our Slogan Lee the other week down from the.
Oh, yeah.
And not just the children enjoying to get the benefit, but the people who have actually involved in the whole project, seeing the impact they're having with these children, you know, they're thoroughly enjoying it and hoping it carries on.
Yeah, we had our first lot of letters that the school kids have written to everybody involved with it. I think me and Neil got a bit emotional. It was really lovely. So lots about how a lot of the kids really were quite fearful of the water. And they've all said how much more confident they are. So I mean, there's hundreds of these letters now. We want to do something with them, so I'll probably make some copies and make them available or stick them in the window or something. But we've also had people that have been sponsoring, and Councillor Wilson came down to this week. So anybody's welcome to come down. Pretty much every morning this week they'll be down there from kind of 10 o'clock-ish. You'll hear the noise, just follow the noise. It's all the laughters and screams and stuff. It's just a lovely thing to see.
Yeah, I was just thinking that it was really, really enjoyable to go and watch kids, so anyone wants to go down for a wave, smile on their face. And it's so, you know, credit to you and Neil for what you've been doing, because it's a really, you know, it's almost like a pilot project that can be rolled out and put it to any school, and then get kids led away in that. And I think it's a brilliant use of our resources, and kids that don't get a fair crack at having a go at things really have an opportunity. So it's been really great.
Good. That sounds successful, Councillor Elliott.
I asked a question about this online wellbeing hub that was mentioned in your report. Is there any more detail on it?
Yeah, so basically, with the loan we had from the cardiac project that we were delivering, Part of that was to have what's classed as phase, I think it's phase 3 and phase 4, not workshop, but exercise classes in Ilfracombe, which is where you have a trained person to come in and do exercise with people that have had heart conditions or heart attacks. That didn't come to fruition through various reasons. There's actually only one fully qualified person in North Devon that can actually do those courses. And we had to change that part of the project. Because we've changed that part of the project, we still wanted to deliver something within the community that if people had heart conditions, we can still deliver that. And so what we've done is we combined it with our healthy workshop and lifestyle workshops that we created and put on in conjunction with the social prescribers. And we have a lady that does virtual fitness classes for phase 4 and phase 3 heart conditions. And what she's offered to do at no cost is put together a series of videos for us that we will then be able to put into a hub. We don't know exactly what it's going to be. I said a website, but some sort of hub. And what we're going to do is the healthy workshop stuff that we've done about healthy eating, exercise, all that type of thing, recipes, we're going to put on there as well. We're going to put on these videos. We're going to extend it to being generic videos, so some stuff that we have done in the past, but we haven't been able to do because of funding. And then our social prescribers then can refer directly to it, which will be a free online resource. And then we can also roll it out to the community as well to say, you know, if you do want to lose weight, why don't you come to our focus pages, you know, to lose weight or to get fit or to do whatever, and it will be focused in doing stuff within Ilfracombe that will be of benefit. So it's all coming together at the moment, and it's just a case of once we've got the videos and once we finish the first round of our healthy workshop, which is due to be completed the next couple of weeks, then the feedback will then help us create it, and it's literally at no cost because we can do it all in house. And everything is being provided to us. We've already got resources.
Thank you.
Do you have any other questions for Steve? Oh, thanks, Steve. All right, we move on to 13, any reports and proposals from town councillors.
Not received any unless anyone has anything.
No.
It's what to do now. The Premier Inn people have opened up a measly line of communication, and they have confirmed that they have not written off the site. They are still hoping to put a hotel on it, and they will come back to us with further details.
Okay.
So it's rule, it's in rule, but it's not empty.
Still possible then. Thank you, Bob. Right, any reports from county and district councillors? I know we had one from Sarah Wilson.
Can I just reassure Norman, because I know Norman is one of our main contributors, that the flag will be put on the children's area immediately as possible after the 12th of this month. It came up in planning on Wednesday, and everybody agreed, obviously, and we are now waiting for the 12th of June when the consultation period ends, and you will see your flags, and it's flags, not flag. All right? Well, that's flags, but they are 6.45 metre high, which is why we need the planning commission. Just in case anybody wants to know. Yeah.
Good to see that from Swansea. Thank you. So, I know we had a report from Sarah Wilson as well. Any question for Sarah?
No, thank you, Sarah.
I think really.
It's still early days, so lay out what's going on.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. It's good to know what's going on.
In terms of districts, you've got a new housing policy going through, which should be reasonably positive. And you'll be delighted to know that each and every one of you, including your children, are paying £2.50 to Hector Christie to, so that he'll take his toilets back to Swan Beach. £250,000 he's getting. Because North Devon Council, I'm reading the list now because I've been stamping my feet about this for weeks. But we signed the lease in 2002, which said that we could lease toilets off of Christie Estates for £10 a year, as long as we cleaned them until 2052. That's now costing £40,000 a year. And I'm quite irritated because if you recall, we've got toilets on our seafront, which are quite popular here. We've had to take them back with no benefit whatsoever. But Christie Estate, I mean, and there's hardly anybody local who goes to Swan Beach. It is all visitors, or 90% visitors. And yet we've got to pay £250,000 to hand them back because some body chose to sign a remarkable lease in 2002. However, we won't have to pay to clean them anymore after this year. Lovely.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that. Any questions for Councillor Crouch? No. Where are we? 15. Reports from working groups and councillor champions. Or Lee?
Any questions?
Yeah. Very nice spring fair.
And yeah, good to have the town crier. Well, it was good to have Mark in his as first time lead fair as mayor, but also we have the town crier as well. And
yeah,
and the rain didn't happen on the Monday afternoon. It was a deluge on the Tuesday, so we were just so lucky. And we got the figures through last week, and it was only slightly down on the year before, where we'd had, you know, very good weather. So it was a very successful event. So
yeah, he looked very busy. Good. Took me back to my childhood.
Did you wang away?
I did queue up to Wang Welly, but the time was moving on.
Any consolation, we've got history on this. I did it once as the mayor. I learned this out shade, but I'm just unwilling to use this. It was supposed to go that way, and it went about 20 yards that way. It was a traffic.
Right, yeah, oh.
Was it on video?
We had it back in those days.
They're black and white.
I failed at Tom Bowler and finding the treasure on the map, so.
and then maybe I can just ask Councillor Wilson question, as you see. We had discussions about the signage we've been having, particularly over half term, and it's only just going to get worse once we get into school holidays. Now we have no car park at the seafront. Regarding signage, there's only one clearway sign on the whole, on the bridge down at the seafront. And you were having a conversation with highways about potentially getting some more signs.
Yes, I haven't heard back.
You haven't heard?
It's within the 10 days that they're supposed to comply.
So meanwhile, there will be some signs going up.
Yes.
Not right. Yeah, the residents have taken, yeah, and then when we get the official ones, they will take them down if necessary. And, yeah, thank you. No, I didn't.
It's like you were recording.
Good stuff. So, should we move to June for the youth, or Dave for the youth champion?
I always thought June was more useful than that. Good. My
son.
I know, so fun. Council, my report is over read. I will only say that I found the visit to the college insightful. I went to the college 10 years ago. Well, it's quite recent compared to quite a lot of you. But it was a pleasure to see the new building, and a pleasure to see the kids up there enjoying it, and the teachers actually enjoying the building and listening to their stories. It was an insightful visit.
Okay, good. Thank you for that. Any other questions for David? No, good. Thank you. Right, correspondence, licenses and notices. Correspondence, we have 4, I believe.
Yeah, so we've had the first letter was a letter from a local resident with regards to the camera that has just been put up by North Devon Council that they had funding for. That I have sent directly on to North Devon Council, and they have sent a letter and responded, which I think is part of the combined papers on page 69. So at this point, we don't need to respond, but just so that you're aware that that was sent through to us and what North Devon Council's response was. I have actually seen the CCTV and they have highlighted that all buildings, residential buildings, are blacked out, so you don't see anything.
Yeah, that's all.
Where is it?
Just above Webbers in the High Street, so yeah. And I think there's going to be another one, I think it's in Neil's report, I've got a feeling it's going to be further down opposite Oxford Grove, so but that, I think that's just waiting on, they've got had funding to do all of that. So that's that. Second letter we've had, I haven't as yet responded with regards to the beer festival. It's more just to highlight the fact that we've obviously had this letter. I'm quite happy to draft a note. Councillor Newland, you possibly might have wanted to help out with drafting that from a roundtable perspective, but it's up to you if you do or don't. But I'm quite happy to respond on behalf of the town council that we obviously support a local community event that puts money back into a community, though we don't obviously disagree with the issue of drug and alcohol problems. So, but then yeah, okay. So that's for you to note. The third one, or number C, is with regards to CAB. So CAB have sent this through. CAB are with us. CAB are with us at the Ilfracombe Centre on every Tuesday, is it, Belle?
Yeah.
So Thursday. Tuesday's housing. Thursday, they're with us Thursday every second week at the moment. They have sent through a report so that you have got that. But what they have asked is that they would very much like to come and talk to you all at some point. So if council is happy, I will organise for Vicky Rowe to potentially, or a representative from CAB, to come and talk to us all prior to hopefully the next full council meeting or one in the future.
Could you possibly give her 2 options? One
Yes.
is she comes and sort of effectively the kind of presentation before it's full council, or we could do both at one time. If she would rather have like a more informal discussion, perhaps 2 or 3 councillors who would have like a proper to and fro discussion with her, and not always be looking at the clock and worrying about getting up to 7 o'clock. And then I would like to do that and to report back to council, and then council can decide are there things that we can act on straight away, and we'd like to bring her in and meet us.
That's right.
I agree with Gemma, having an informal meeting, I think that'd be more productive.
Well, yeah, I'll put it to her and see, give her the 2 options that are available and see how she wants to progress. But yeah, I'm happy with that. I will organise that this week. So yes, and you've obviously had the report with regards to that as well. So which was quite nice that it was specific, an Ilfracombe specific report as well. Then the last correspondence was on behalf of the South West Ambulance Charity and Letter. They have put a specific request in for financial help with regards to the service. I'm hoping we've all read it because I can't remember the exact details. But I think they were asking for £300 donation within that. So
is it appropriate to raise what would be the chair's discretion under this, which is about co-responders?
if the chair is happy to raise it at this point, yeah.
So I don't know if anyone's seen on the news or is aware, currently South West Ambulance have a relationship with the fire service where they train fire staff as co-responders, not in every fire station, but scattered across the southwest. And we have two close to us, one in Combe Martin and one in Willicombe, where the fire officers are trained to be first responders, or co-responders they call them. Well, South West Ambulance are pulling that because they say it's too expensive because they have to train those staff. And I assume that the fire staff receive some remuneration for adopting that role. And what they want to do is to get more community first responder volunteers of the type detailed in here. So they would be volunteers that would be trained to provide emergency first response. So if somebody's had an urgent health problem or been in an accident, they would be first on the scene, life-saving actions and before the ambulance comes. I have some concerns about that. I think the fire staff are so experienced at dealing with emergency situations. I think they are constantly dealing with emergency and urgent first aid situations. And they do a good job. And we all know how difficult it is to recruit and train volunteers. So I do know South West Ambulance are obviously, like everywhere else, really strapped for cash and they're finding ways to save money. But I think I have some concerns about this, which I'm trying to raise with South West Ambulance to find out some more answers to this. But I know that the fire service are concerned about this, and this has been in other communities as well, particularly in Cornwall, where similar to us, they're having their minor injuries pulled. They'll go on to chair's discretion at the same time as having this co-responder role pulled as well. So I just thought I'd introduce that in regards to the request made there for South West Ambulance.
Or we do financial
Well,
requests?
then what I might suggest is if we defer this correspondence through until you've got some more information, possibly to next month.
I would say in the report, they very helpfully pointed out that Jacob Madden is
Yes.
actually trying to go around and fund £3,500 for the kit for all the voluntary responders that will be taken over the fire service. I mean, a rather brisk email perhaps to Jacob Madden, about where his loyalties lie might be an easy way to spend an afternoon.
Okay.
Just out of interest, do we know how many responders we have? And where they are? I mean, we know we've got Bill Harvey at the Grampus.
My understanding is that there is one first responder for the whole of Ilfracombe, Willicombe,
No,
and it's him, it's Bill Hart.
and he's based in
They
Leeds.
did some training last year, and I believe that nobody turned up to their training. Because they held it in the mountain and nobody turned up.
No,
Can I just point out, it's a kind of separate issue, my wife is the proper officer for Berwick Council, and South West Ambulance have withdrawn their maintenance of our defibrillator, so we're now having to pay for it ourselves. We've done the training, so I'm not sure they're benefiting us very much at all.
okay. Good to know.
Well, should we
Defer
defer this
Sounds
to
like
next
we're
month?
with-
I'll do some send some emails and with Councillor Elliott, get some information and we'll put something together more formally for next council meeting.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Right, we'll move on to chair's discretion. Councillor Elliott, you had two, one now.
Or one we've just discussed, so it will just be the minor injury unit.
Yes. Just to make members aware that currently we have the weekend only minor injuries provision at the Tyrrell Hospital, 10 till 6, which is manned by first response, first care, paramedic service. Currently, they are not able to suture or prescribe antibiotics, but they are providing a very basic minor injury service, and it's walk-in. That will be ending on the 31st of July. So indications that we've got from the Integrated Care Board, that's the body that decides what services we get and where. And from the Healthcare Trust is that they won't be renewing the contract, and they're not looking for any other contract either. So this will leave us without a weekend minor injury service. In the weekday, minor injuries, patients are meant to contact either 111 or Coombe Coastal Direct to see if there's provision for them to be seen there. But as we all know, Coombe Coastal is under their own pressures around allocation of resources for patients, and they just don't have that capacity. It's not minor injuries if you can't walk in, it's not urgent care, and quite often there isn't capacity to see somebody, and that person will be redirected to North Devon District Hospital. If you cut like that, sort of horizontally, in South Devon there are 10 community hospitals offering urgent care or minor injuries, as well as the 3 main hospitals. Once the tool goes, other than this GP practice sort of half minor injuries, we will only have North Devon District Hospital covering the whole area, offering an urgent minor injuries service. Their rationale is that they can't afford it because there aren't enough people through the door. Obviously, we've had COVID, we've had it going to only a weekend service, and I have to tell you, I get messages every week from somebody who doesn't understand whether the service is there or not. I had one at the weekend from someone whose daughter had fallen down some steps and twisted her ankle badly. Is it open? Is it that fragmentation and that lack of understanding? You know, people don't go. They are now either waiting until Monday, or they often just go straight to the district hospital because they don't think we've got provision. So I think those statistics are can be questioned, but what I would say is it's almost like we've been told that basically it feels the impression if you live in a rural or coastal area, because your numbers aren't great, you're not going to get a service. I mean, where do you draw the line with that? You start saying you haven't got enough numbers to provide schools. We have to have some provision for our communities across North Devon around minor injuries, and it has to be stable and consistent, and it has to be minor injuries, it has to be walk-in. So we've got a meeting tomorrow with Chris Tideman to try and pin some of this down and try and get a definitive answer, because the ICB are still not declaring what is going to happen. They're kind of kicking the can down the road. I think the ICB is in chaos because they've been asked to make 50% cuts administratively, and that's occupying their time. But time is running out, and we can't have a situation where people don't know where to go to get treatment. And we do know that our population, percentage of our population struggles with access to healthcare anyway, with such great health inequality and lack of access to transport. You know, we need answers. It's not good enough. It's just good.
Can I just support Councillor Lillis? I work for First Care Ambulance. I work at the minor injuries unit. When we put forward our contract for this next extension, we were just told no. There was no explanation as to no. And as I said, I think at the last council meeting, I tried walking into Coombe Coastal at 10 o'clock in the morning and saying I need to see a doctor, and it was refused. There was no one available. So that is not a service they're offering. We have nothing. At the end of July, we have nothing. It's just not acceptable.
We need to reflect it really, and from the council, we need to send a strong message that this isn't acceptable.
No, I agree with exactly what you're saying, but if it ends at the 31st of July as well, that's just when we go into the peak
Yeah.
tourist season, and I know we're talking about residents, but, you know, I would take into account the influx of extra people, which will be putting more of a burden on non-existent resources.
Absolutely.
We were seeing 25 to 30 people a day.
Yeah.
Over a weekend, residents and non-residents as well. And they were being referred to us by local pharmacies, work and all sorts of things. Yeah.
So are you asking specifically for?
Unfortunately, because it's chair's discretion, we can't make a decision on it, it's
It'd
information.
be really
only.
good if it goes on the agenda for the next meeting, that we send a letter.
Well, if there's, sorry, councillor Crabbe is waiting as well, but if there's the chance that a letter can be drafted, which I'm happy to work with you on, so we've got something to bring to next full council, we can do that in July.
One of the hooks that this all hangs on is the fact that they are saying that there is a review of all urgent treatment centres underway, and it's going to publish its findings in September. Interestingly, I had a bit of inside information that the terms of reference of the review was quite interesting. So I've asked for the terms of reference for the review. Unfortunately, I'm no longer in a position to receive the terms of reference, so I will suggest that both Councillor Wilson, perhaps with your interest, and Town Council could contact Louise Higgins. And in all honesty, it seemed a little bit reluctant to get an answer, so you might have to say, can we have this please? We want the terms of reference of the review. And I'm assuming from where I was ticked off, I'm assuming that there might be some embarrassing phrases in there, which might be useful. Yes, if you say, we'd like this for our next council meeting, if it's unavailable through the normal channel, who do we submit a freedom of information request to? Because the NHS are subject to that, all right. But there seems to be a reluctance in sending it out. Yeah, well, actually, it's unnatural. The thing's not gone. But I can tell you the name. Yeah. NHS. NHS. She's the locality manager and all.
So that's good, so we've got some groundwork to do for potentially a proposal for the next meeting.
Just points that I emailed Ian Reeve about this last week, and he's also trying on his end to get attention to the whole situation. So in agreement with what you're saying.
Good.
I understand he's spoken to you, need to go be careful last week.
Yeah.
And it's waiting for his phone.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Right, is that everything, Catherine? Right, we move to 18, reactions from this meeting.
We'll highlight those.
So next we need to move to part B. So, I'll ask, the public to leave, and then,
You need to read to it.
well, first of all, I propose we move to part B to discuss the one outstanding item 9.2. Second, John, all in favour? All against? Abstentions? Okay.